Hi, so I'm Nick, and I took part on the mini training series we had last week, the same session as Matty and Judith. The area I was particularly working on was executive presence, the middle ring of my executive communication. The specific scenario we were looking at was dealing with criticism, dealing with heavy criticism coming from somebody in a position of relative authority. We were dealing with executive presence and how to express executive presence, and I think it worked well that we, rather than me delivering a pre-cooked definition of what executive presence is, rather with the groups, then we co-authored that together, and so developed a statement about what executive presence really means, about the feelings that we're trying to create in the people who are listening to us when we're communicating with them. So I think that worked rather well. Having got that in place, then they found very useful also the fact we had some pre-prepared materials for them which dealt with the problem about how to get started. I think when people are in high pressure situations, negotiations, presentations to senior executive groups, they're conscious or should be conscious of the need to express ownership, commitment and general knowledge. But the question is how actually to get started, how to put yourself into that zone that we are now concretely and deliberately expressing ownership, for example. And so the advantage of having these kind of materials was it gave them those leading phrases, that leading language they could use to get started. And once they're equipped with that, and once they had got started, then of course they could rely on their own specific technical knowledge, which in any case is something they're fairly strong in. So this idea of having starters, useful language blocks they could work with, I think worked very well. And I think what was good to see was the energy levels that were created there. In terms of feedback after each role play, rather than simply me giving my commentary on a particular performance, because the other group members were fairly clear about what we meant by executive presence, and knew what they were looking for, then in fact their peer level feedback became really quite high energy, very constructive, and it even allowed me in effect to somewhat withdraw from the proceedings and let this take over with its own energy. So I think all in all that worked very well.